Today's shop project is going to be, we're going to take Joe Padula's 1100E GS and we're going to replace the seat cover, which is ripped. It has a big rip in the front where they all typically rip. We've worked on other things on this bike, and this seat cover will be like the cherry on the sundae, I hope. You can see these GS 1100Es tend to rip in exactly the same spot. Now, the seat cover that we're going to replace it with has a reinforced area there that I have never done one of these yet, but it has that reinforced area, and we're going to try to show how we used heat and a wine bottle and a lot of other little tricks, including the heavy-duty staples, to get this project done. It's a little tricky. It's almost critical that you have a helper. When you do this, it's really a two-man job, but I'm going to try to show whatever I can in terms of some tricks and tips on how to do it. So this is Joe Padula's seat for his GS, and this is very typical that they crack here after 40 years. And of course, this is a real Suzuki cover that came with the bike. He's got a replacement, and you can see the replacement is reinforced where that ripped, which is probably a good thing. So what we're going to do in the next hour or so, we're going to see if we can put this on top of the old seat cover, or we have to take the old seat cover off, or both. We're going to see. Joe's here, and this ought to be a fun project. Step one is to pull the cotter pins off. Pull these out. You can spin this till the cows come home if you don't take the cotter pin out. You want to take the hardware off. Well, you don't really have to take the hardware off. Yeah, you do. We'll get the hardware out of the way. That'll make it a little bit easier. And this side too, we want to see, because we're going to try, what we're going to try is to put it on right over the old cover. Once the strap is removed, we're going to take the strap off. And then if Joe's not happy with that, the next step, of course, is we'll take the old cover off. But then you don't know what that foam is like underneath. We're going to try to play this one step at a time. And it makes the job a lot easier. In fact, I don't know if you can do it with the hardware already on. You need heavy-duty staples, heavy-duty, not ordinary ones, and an ordinary arrow staple you can get from any Lowe's or Home Depot. So what I did, just to see if this was going to work on top of the old seat, this is the old seat. We're just tacking it in place. There's always ugly wrinkles in the very beginning, sometimes in the end. We'll get this wrapped around and mirror image it. Get it right up to the seam where this one ends and this one ends, because it looks like they used a real seat cover to make the pattern, to make the replica. So getting it all tacked in, that'll let us know how accurate this really is. So after trying to put it on over the old cover, which does not look like it's going to happen, we're going to take this off. It looks like, because the old cover is on and this is tight, it doesn't wrap all the way around. We're going to take the old cover off and see if that's any better. And of course, all that means is taking out all the factory staples one by one and making sure you don't get any under your fingernail. Now, as we're taking the old staples out, what happens is you can use a screwdriver, you grind it to a point to pry them out. But we're going to be replacing them. Even if we go back and use the original cover with the reinforcement in it, we're going to use heavy-duty staples. Heavy-duty staples are, I think, a must. So after we got the cover, all the staples out, this is the only part of the whole cover that the foam was not perfect on. I'm trying to do this with one hand. And up here is the foam ripped. Move that back and forth. The foam isn't, oh yeah, it is up here. The foam is ripped right up there. Okay, so we have two areas we want to watch. I may be able to put some batting back here if that looks bad, and I'm not sure how this is going to play out until we go to put the new cover on. But we may even come back and put the old one back on. But if we do, I'll fix this from the inside, and that'll be part of the. Well, let's see. I don't want to get the horse ahead of the SUV. And step one, get rid of all the old staples before they wind up doing some damage. Now we're going to carefully fit the new cover.
The cover?
Yeah, maybe. Now, see, we're going to try to put this right over the old seat. And I just want to, the first thing is just to try to tack it in place so it's centered. It isn't all, you don't want to tack one side in and it's an inch off. Only means you got to take more staples out. Just kind of center it, trying to get all this, the edges where the old edges were, and we know where they were. And get a couple of staples in and we can start pulling out the wrinkles. So we got this side in temporarily. These are all temporary staples. We can see this side is a little, we need to stretch that. But we're going to, this side has a wrinkle in it. We're going to stretch that out. This is the one we already did. You can see that's got a nice, pretty much stock looking contour. That whole side, we got a little bit of a lump here. We'll be heating this with a heat gun and pulling it down in that direction. Remember, if the wrinkle, this is the whole thing in a nutshell. The wrinkle is here. You pull like 90 degrees to the wrinkle. In other words, we want to pull down in that corner. Actually, this looks like it's going to fit pretty good, and we got to work on this back seam a little bit. But first, we get everything in. Right now, we have the whole perimeter done with the heavy-duty staple, just every once in a while. They're not in permanently, and we got a couple up here to do. But now, to pull this straight, we'll warm the material, pull that, and just Joe's getting to be a real expert with the staple gun. Once we get all of the wrinkles out that we can, then we'll warm this whole thing up. Too bad it isn't a sunny day in California. Just put it out on the dashboard of the car.
And then we don't have a heat lamp.
Yeah, me too.
Right?
Yeah, I never worked at McDonald's. I never had a chance to steal one.
Conform.
We had to use heat to get that to bend around, and it's look a little by little, it's coming around. Now we want to work on this. And then in the back, the two little things. And of course, because we want it to go down in the valley, we're going to stretch it exactly. Anywhere there's a wrinkle, stretch it. And there's a seam around it. We want the whole seam to be inside the seat so you don't see any of the seam when we're done. Here, we want this to have a little contour this way. So this is an old trick from the old school. We're going to heat it. This is a Joe Padula trick. He says if it doesn't work, so what? It's his seat anyway. We're going to warm this up with a heat gun just to get that to contour down. This is just like you would do it if you were doing a carbon fiber propeller for a model plane. You warm it to where you just can't touch it. No warmer than that. That's plenty good. If you can touch it, it's not hot enough. Then you take a cold bottle of, what is this? Louisa. Let's see.
That's the crush seam.
Right on a crush seam. Now the cold in here, it would even be better if we had a bigger bottle. You got to drink more wine. That's all there is to it. And this should put a little bit of that contour in there, I hope. I hope. Look around the wine store for a bottle that's a little, because this you could do even if it's on the bike, you know. You could just heat it and go get a big, and I know you drink wine, so. Me, I'm a Pepsi guy. I don't even drink Pepsi.
I don't drink wine.
I drink water. Anyway, now that's got a little bit of the curvature in it. I'm sure you got to do this about 4 or 5 times.
Go forward a little bit.
Forward, okay.
There you go.
And you know the real thing would be is go get something like this and put a weight on top of it, and let it sit overnight.
Yeah.
On the hood of your car. If it's 30 degrees out there now, it's not going to be tonight, but yeah, it looks like this has some potential.
It's doing something.
Well, we'll do the back too, even though the back is down pretty nice.
Back is perfect.
Yeah, I don't want to. No, let's not fix it if it's not broken. Well, but that looks like, I don't know. What do you think, Mr. Wino? Does that suit your needs?
It did something. There's no doubt about it.
That's pretty cool. Anyway, that tip courtesy of Joe Padula. So now we have the shape that we're looking for. Now what we're going to do, the last thing, I'm going to pull out any of the staples that are like this, put in what I call real staples. We'll go around the whole thing like it's a machine gun and put in staples on each section. And boy, I would say that seat cover, and I hope people that buy these seat covers check that out. That's a good way to do it. It'll be right on the hard bench. Okay, if you hold it like that, you got it. And we'll go right around the whole perimeter of this, and then if you do have to make any adjustments, you just pull these out. These are all heavy-duty staples, so I don't think any of them are going to come out. Okay, walk around. That's good. And all that's left is to put the hardware back on and make the strap. I leave the strap off of my bike. I never ride passengers, so I don't need it. But so this job really did go pretty good. It took between an hour and a half, I think, realistically. But you do need, and it's really important, you have a good helper that's nice and strong and can pop those staples in while you're stretching it. They give you strap material that matches. You got the old strap, you can measure it.
You know.
I'd leave it a tad longer, 1/16 of an inch longer.
This was not tight though. I used to be able to move this around.
Yeah, so you can get your finger under there without going.
Nobody's on the back of this bike.
Yeah.
My wife isn't holding on to that thing.
No. Take her on a BMW if you take her for a ride. Now Karen came down and looked at the seat, gave her full seal of approval for this job.
They put these lines in here with just a bar that's heat, and they actually melt them in.
There's the final product.
There's no stitching, right? There's no stitching. They just
That's why they ripped
with an iron.
Yeah, they never
And
reinforced
it's ripped
that.
over here. This they actually stitched this as a separate piece, so that problem.
The new one has a double seam there.
What?
So just to look back at this, again, you do need, I think it's important you have a second helper. That really worked well. Joe was an excellent helper in this job. And I think it's real important you have a heat gun to do the final stretching. But the product from Pit Replica, and they have done a nice job of making this, that you can put this on a bike. If you have that awful thing that happens to GS's in the front, it eliminates that with the sewn seam. And I think Joe said with the shipping and everything, this came to about $62. But it's Pit Replica, and if you are so inclined to upgrade your seat, this is certainly a good choice. And thanks so much for watching.